I like my bike. I haven't been able to ride it in a while though. I'm hoping to get the okay soon. My whole life I've had headaches. I went to the emergency room and they found a tumor.
We talked to Dr. Savage, and Dr. Savage said, "Do you know anybody at IU in Indianapolis?" She said, "I have a friend there who is really good at things like this, chordomas."
I said, so anywhere in the world, you got to go. Your child, where do you go? It doesn't matter. And she said, I would be right there. He would be the one doing it.
Well, let's get here.
It was a very large tumor that arose from the base of the skull. It probably occupied over a third of the volume of what we call the infratentorial compartment. So that's a large amount of tumor. And if we're going to put it into terms, it's the size of a plum or something sitting in a very small volume.
There was one point when we had to ask everybody to leave the room. It was Ryleigh and I in there by ourselves. And we had to ask everybody to leave the room because it was a lot. It was a lot to take in.
I was scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. I've never had a surgery before, and this major of a surgery was very scary.
With the team that we've kind of put together here for, complex skull-based tumors, we decided we could do this through the mouth and nose. And so it was going to be an endonasal approach with endoscopic, guidance.
An ENT is actually driving the camera. We're actually in the nostril on one side, and there's two other instruments on either nostril that the operating or the dissecting surgeon's then using. So the ENT is basically essentially handling the visualization of the field, as Dr. Shaw's working to basically remove tumor that was essentially at the brainstem in her case.
We were very happy with the resection, but the real challenge then is the gap. Like we could see from sort of the top of the brainstem all the way to down to the bottom. You could put material in like fat and artificial dura and things like that to kind of seal that area. But if you don't have vascularized tissue that we get from like the nasal septum and things, that area won't heal. And then the complexity of that is that you get a spinal fluid leak. And when you get spinal fluid leak, then you can get meningitis, and that can lead to death if it's untreated. A few days later, she clearly showed evidence that she was leaking, and we had to go back in and repair that.
We ended up harvesting other tissue from the other leg to actually rebolster that area.
Almost 2 to 3 weeks later, we get a call from her doctor in Tennessee that, hey, we've got a problem. There's this CAT scan. She came in with nausea, vomiting, and she, has meningitis, and the CAT scan shows that she has a lot of air in her head. And we had to emergently bring her down because there was a spinal fluid leak again. So now we had tried to fix this twice. What's really good about a team like ours is that we can take on adversity if they occur. It's not like we give up.
We needed more robust tissue, and we then brought in one of my colleagues, Dr. Avinash Mantravati, who was able to utilize vascularized tissue from her back actually as an ability to take healthy vascularized muscle that then would serve as a complete bolster to completely seal off the area at the base of the skull.
And the second issue was some parts of where the skull articulated with the spine looked like the bone was eroded. And would we render her being unstable so that she would need to have a fusion in the back? And that fusion would fuse the skull to the upper part of the cervical spine. If we had to do that, she would lose the ability to turn. The one love she had was riding motocross bikes. And they always asked me, well, will she be able to do that? And I said, that would be very difficult with this, occipital cervical fusion there.
I've always wanted a 370. Well, not always, for a while. I've wanted a 370Z.
We knew the dirt bike, which was her passion at that point. That's probably going to be out of the picture for a long time. I was like, all right, she needs a motivator.
We went to Nashville to look at one, but it wasn't in that best of condition. And then we went to North Carolina to look at another one, and that was the one that I ended up getting. I love it. I love every second of it. I drive it all the time. Every second I can, I drive it. And sometimes I just sit in it.
Can I see the picture of the car? When you have a young patient, making these kinds of decisions is not a trivial thing. And back, and then forward. Any discomfort?
No.
At the end of the day, we don't want somebody who we give them life, but they don't have the vigor to enjoy it.
And honestly, in a, somebody looking out for us or someone looking out for Ryleigh, what was really fortunate for her was that Dr. Shaw, when he got her post-operative imaging and her x-rays of her spine, she was stable. So we were able to get her out of her collar, and we're at this point able to avoid having to do the cervical fusion procedure.
That's amazing to me. That's a miracle to me. I can't let this interview go without mentioning my Lord and Savior.
I don't know how you would go through something like that and not have faith. I mean, you just can't. This is too much. Not to knock any other doctors, but just doctors that we've experienced in other places, it's like they're on a different level.
There were moments in time where there was a lot of unknown here, and this is a 17-year-old girl. You think about your own family, your own kids, your own friends, and to see her on the outside of this, I think I got a picture of Ryleigh in her new car. It's almost indescribable what that kind of feeling gives to you, what we've been able to accomplish and achieve. This is a case that I will not forget for the rest of my career.